have a son who's an attorney, which I don't know if that's great, but and then I have a daughter who's an optometrist with UNM Hospital in Albuquerque. I have 2 grandchildren, 2 granddaughters, and then I have another son who is a soil scientist with NRCS, and they all live in, well, they all graduated from Mexico State University. So I understand the importance of the land grants and how it puts into the education fund, because I've actually experienced with our kids, and so it's really important to me.
Thank you. What is the role of the New Mexico Land Commissioner as it relates to the stewardship and use of state-owned land?
What is the role of steward?
What is the role of the New Mexico Land Commissioner as it relates to the stewardship and use of state-owned land?
I think the main thing is land commissioner, you need to have a balanced approach. And so you need to look at creating income, and 98% of the income comes from oil and gas. So you need to look at that, but then you need to look at the sustainability and the future generations that are coming afterwards. So I think it's a dual purpose deal. You've got to concentrate on creating income. At the same time, you need to have a balanced look at the future. And I think you can go too far either way. If you're too far concentrated on revenue, you may hurt. And if you stray too far towards protectionism or environmentalism, I think that could hurt also. So it needs to be a balanced approach to both revenue and sustainability.
Thank you. Records show that in 2010, the federal government owned roughly 35% of all land in New Mexico. Recently, we have seen even more land transferred to federal ownership or control. Please explain your support or opposition for the recent designation of over 500,000 acres in Doñana County as a national monument.
On the national monument in Doñana County, I'm opposed to that. I think it was an overstep by the president. There's, depending on who you talk to, between 54 and 64,000 trust lands, state trust lands in that trade. There's 9,000 deeded acres, private acres. There's about 40 grazing permits. And, I think Steve Pierce had a proposal to do just 90,000 acres up near the mountain. This proposal, in my opinion, was overreaching. And the use of the president to use his executive powers to do it was wrong in my part. I think the people of New Mexico should have made that decision, or Congress as a body rather than the president as one. So personally, I'm not in favor of it. I think it hurts the revenues of the state down the road, and it's bad for education for New Mexico.
Okay, thank you. What is your position on maintenance and use of money from the state land grant permit fund?
Well, I think we're dipping in it too far, and the increases that were done by the current governor, I think, have been damaging to the permanent fund. And I think we need to work at trying to build it up. Because the permanent, it was set there because of the royalties that were there would go to the future generations. Because one day the oil and gas won't be there. And so we need something to sustain our children in the future. And so if we use all those funds now, or if you start dipping into it, I think one of the funds only increased by $100 last year after the income and then what we expense back out. So what we're doing is kind of like what we're doing as a country with the $17 trillion in excess debt. What we're doing is if we dip further into it, we're going to be taking funds from the future, which were mineral rights, and then using them today. So I'm not in favor of it. I think we should work to build it rather than keep robbing it.
Thank you. Do you support or oppose efforts to add animals, birds, and other critters like the lesser prairie chicken and the dunes sagebrush lizard to the endangered species list, and why?
I think that the current use of the Endangered Species Act by using the court system to change the science available or to ignore the science that's not yet created is wrong. And I think what we're doing is we're allowing extremists to come in and use the Endangered Species Act to really to push people off the land. And so I think the Endangered Species Act, if it was correctly handled and you go through the right studies and things, you're going to find, you know, that we're overstepping the use of the Endangered Species Act. So I think the prairie chicken issue and the lizard and now the jumping mouse and the cuckoo bird and all those things that are coming down the way are not really to save those species. I mean, in the jumping mouse issue in the Hemis, one hasn't been seen yet, but the habitat, I think, is there. So I think, you know, the extremists have come in and used that to get the cattle off the land. I think that's the ultimate goal, which will hurt, just as the spotted owl got timbering off the land. So I think the Endangered Species Act, when it was done, I think it was done under Nixon. I think the idea was correct, but I think it's being abused.
Thank you. We have one last question, and Mr. Dunn, because you have not used your time on any of the former questions, we're going to give you a little more time on this. We try to make the time about even for every candidate, and we have done this in the past. You know, if they have not used all their time in the questions, we'll give them more at the end. So you'll have 3 minutes for this. Please tell the hiring committee why you believe you are the best candidate to represent New Mexicans as state land commissioner.
I think as a native New Mexican, and then as a business person, I spent time as a banker for 25 years. So I've been on the business side of the equation. I've been in agriculture my entire life, and now I'm depending on ranching. And as a rancher, you need to foster the land so that you're able to run cattle in the future. You just can't use it all up every year. So I think when you look at someone who's kind of got a business experience, agriculture experience, and is part of the state, I think you have a different, and you want to bring a balanced conservationist view rather than a protectionist view. And I think that's where you get into differences. I think that a balanced view is how we should handle the land office. It shouldn't be extreme either way. And I think that's what I bring, is a balanced view on the use of state lands. You know, I'm an auctioneer too, and I've been a real estate broker, and so I have a lot of the different skills that maybe not. No, I'm not a lawyer, thank goodness. But no, so I have a different view, and then I think raising 3 kids through New Mexico public schools, through New Mexico colleges, through professional schools in New Mexico, you know, I think you understand the need for education and the shortfalls in education in New Mexico. So I think raising a family in New Mexico gives you a different view also. So I think that's kind of where I fall. I've done a lot of things and worn a lot of hats, and I think it fits well with the land office.
Thank you. The hiring committee, the voters of New Mexico, will let you know on November 4th if you have been selected for the position of